Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, everybody. Good to be here with all of you this Saturday. This wet and rainy Saturday here in San Diego, California, on business and visiting family. How are you doing? Well, listen, I'm glad that we are connecting today, right? Because our topic and discussion on this theme, we're really getting into breaking down acidity, right? And over acidity, in particular, over acidity versus what? Versus alkalinity. Over the years, you've been to the site, you've seen the writings, you hear this a lot, right? Alkaline versus acidity and being overly acidic. And just the first premise, we do want to talk about the fact that the body does need, right, minimal amounts of acidic response to trigger health responses, right? But in low dose amounts. But in our nation and nations around the world who are adapting this particular standard American or standard Western diet more and more, we are finding that these overly acidic diets are slowly crippling us, right? So just think back, right, some time ago, maybe a century ago, or maybe 80, 90 years ago, human beings were much more mobile. We had much more connection to our food. Many of us and our grandparents would hear about the stories that they told related to gardening and, really being a part of that health process. But as time has moved on, as things have become, quote unquote, so much more advanced, well, our dietary choices have really pushed us into over inflammation mode. So we just wanted to take a moment and talk about, right, those dangers of becoming overly acidic and minimally alkaline, and we're talking about how we can be more alkaline and bring down the acidity, right? Because it's so important. So in our particular training, right, many years ago, going through holistic nutrition school and naturopathic medical doctor school, one of the first things we learned was this concept called the kiss of death. And it's like, whoa, what does that mean, right? Kiss of death, right? How does that relate to this topic? Well, it's been said that low-grade chronic acidosis is like that slow kiss of death. And how so? Because it's not something that we notice right away, right? It's just a little bit of inflammation here one day, a little bit of inflammation here the next day, right? A little upset stomach the week after. Oh, a little headache, right? A month later. Oh, a little joint movement problem that won't go away a year later, XY and XY and XY, so on and so on, and we find ourselves in a chronic disease state. But it all started with that slow drip of chronic acidosis. So this particular piece is all about the impact of nutrition in holistic and naturopathic medicine. So low-grade chronic acidosis is that slow kiss of death that's just nibbling and chipping away at people's lives, by which many people are not even aware. And particularly this affects our pH system. So if you've taken a basic chemistry class or anything like that, going back to grade school, high school, remember, right, what is the neutral alkalinity? Either some say 7.2, 7.4. So when I'm seeing patients and clients, the lower that pH scale, the more acidic that they are. The higher that pH scale, the more alkaline that they are. So I very rarely encounter patients and clients who are on the high pH scale, but very low, meaning high on the acid scale. And these things prompt diseases and can be behind many well-known degenerative diseases like high blood pressure, cancer, strokes, nutrient deficiencies, right? kidney stones, accelerated aging, yes, accelerated loss of life force, meaning the push towards accelerated aging, okay? Digestive problems, joint damage, and the list goes on and on. But those signs and indicators that we tend to think of as just normal parts of everyday life could actually be a sign of something much, much bigger. And so those things really you can't go to the hospital for and be treated for, so to speak. Right? You can be given a prescription or a record, do this or do that, but that's not always the real cause. So one of the things that you won't often be told is, it's the food that's making you, us, we sick. It's the food that is making you, us, and we sick. Okay, so if we're wondering, well, how much genetics play into this? Well, as we've talked before a few videos back, we are practicing epigenetics, so going above our genetics. Even if something is in our family history, it doesn't mean we have to play those cards that trigger the ailment. Okay? And it's really been said about 5% of true degenerative chronic diseases are degenerative and genetic. Okay? So if this is the case, if that's the reality of what's going on, well, what's the antithesis? Well, that antithesis is striving to become more alkaline every day. Okay? So there's hope, right? If you've been feeling those chronic headaches, those stiff joints, that upset stomach, that irritability, that fatigue, that can't sleep, that low energy, we have to take a look at where our pH scale might be in our life. Okay? So we can bring more alkaline forming foods into our life. And if it's too much to ask for 100% or even 90%, try to make it 50-50. And we can bring these foods in our life. They're low cost and cheap. Asparagus, lettuce, tomatoes, cabbage, apples, apricots, cherries, eggplants, right? Peppers, zucchini, celery, mushrooms, avocados, hazelnuts, oranges, watermelons, raisins, so on, so on, and so on. I think we get the point here. Bringing more plant foods into our life, right? Leaving detoxing behaviors, or I should say, leaving behind toxic behaviors and detoxifying those behaviors first and foremost through our nutrition, and then through our mind, and through our choices, and through our movement of our body. Right? So if we can get them in the more rawest form possible, that will make for better outcomes, of course. But we know that might not always be possible for everybody, and we understand. So let's do a recap of where are we at. We're striving for more alkalinity versus acidity. To recap again, yes, the body needs minimal amounts of acidic exposure to actually trigger an immune response. But the reality is we've gone way over that line, and we need to bring that acidity down, raise that alkalinity up. That is the first stage of healing, and we'll have a video and a discussion on treating of the stomach, which is really, really, truly that first stage in healing. So good to be here with all of you. Once again, don't forget to click the link below if you want a readout of everything that was said here, right, and the science behind it. Please don't forget to give a like. Don't forget to leave a nice, kind comment. Don't forget to send a share, right, and spread the word. And if anyone needs to make contact for a consultation, there is a link below on how you can get in touch with me, and I will try to get back with you within a 24-hour turnaround time, right? So I'm gonna just keep on enjoying this great detoxifying tea, enjoying my time here in what happens to be a wet and rainy San Diego, California, and I will touch base with you in the very soon to near future. All right, much peace.